Hello, good day, everyone. My name is Johnson Lawal. I'm a product manager, and today I'm going to be talking about product metrics and KPIs. Okay. Um, During the course of this session, I'm going to explain what product metrics are, what KPIs are, why you should care about them in the first place, how they're likely to make a difference in your product development process. I would also be sharing the best practices for formulating metrics and KPIs. Okay? Without further ado, let's begin the session. Okay, so firstly, what are product metrics? What are product metrics? So metrics comes from the word measurement. It comes from the word measurement, and product metrics can be said to be quantifiable data points that helps you analyze and gauge the success of a product. Okay, so we're talking about two keywords there: quantifiable, number one. Number two, you are gauging the success of a product. Okay, so just for emphasis sake, quantifiable there means that we want this measurement to be numbered. Okay, so we are not just talking about abstract evaluation of a product. We are talking about the numerical evaluation. And gauging there means that we are measuring, we are making those measurements because we have a goal to improve the success of our products. So yeah, you see two things. We see the numbers and we see the goal. Okay? Why do we care about product metrics in the first place? Okay? Number one, product metrics can provide key insights about your product's health and performance. So let me give you a typical example. If you look at your GT Bank mobile application today, GT Bank is a popular mobile application for banking in Nigeria. If you go and meet various people and say, what do you think about this application? Okay, suppose you meet 10 people. 2 out of those 10 people might say, this is the greatest application I've ever used. Okay? Another 3 set of people say, oh, the application is average. And then you meet 5 people, they say, oh, this is terrible. I don't like this application. Okay? Now, what you see in that case is that different people have different opinions on the same app. Okay? And these opinions are liable to bias. Okay? So you might not even be able to detect why they are giving that opinion. Okay? So one of the ways to actually have an objective view of a product, that objective view of a product health, that key insight is to actually use product metrics. So product metrics goes beyond the opinions of people to evaluate a product success and provide key numerical insights and data points that can use to evaluate success. Another reason you need product metrics is to easily measure how well you've done. So in this case, we are looking at a case whereby maybe last month you have a product where 1,000 people signed up, and this month you have 2,000 people signing up. Okay, so what you see there is an increase in the trend. That's a ×2 increase in sign up. Okay, so with that case, you have been able to measure how well you've done in terms of user sign up. So this is a trend. This is a kind of a trend graph for product for that product metrics provide you. So those are 2 key reasons why you might need a product metrics. Let me share some further ones. Okay. Now, another reason why you need a product metrics, so you might want to use a product metrics, that they help you make better product decisions. Like the example I gave earlier, instead of going to the market square or going to the public and just asking people about a product, and then they give you a different opinion. Okay. You could use certain objective metrics to make a decision that is not opinion-based and is objective. For example, instead of asking people, okay, is my app better last month than this month? Suppose you take a metrics like user sign up and 1,000 people signed up last month, and you have 2,000 people signing up this month. Okay? That metrics can help you make a better decision because there's a ×2, there's an obvious ×2 increase in user sign up. Okay? Now, another case where you might need product metrics is to help you earn executive approvals. So for some of us who have worked in large organizations or hope to work in large organizations in the future, one of the key parts of the bureaucracy involved is that you would have to justify product decisions to various stakeholders. Okay, so suppose you want to add this feature to your product, let's say you want to add a button here, or you want to add an additional feature, um, you would probably have to talk to maybe your line manager or the executive that say, okay, this is why I think we should add this product feature. This is why it is justified. Okay? Now, in that case, one of the ways you can earn executive approval from your management is to give them this kind of product metrics and say, okay, this is an objective number that tells us that tells us that if we had this button, if we had this feature, we are even going to have more increases that sign up. So that's one thing product metric does. The third thing product metric does is that it helps keep employees accountable. So there are some kind of metrics that can be used within small teams, for example. So yeah, a team of small designers, you've deployed, you've just launched an updated user interface design, okay, with a new buy now button, okay, and the metrics that you are measuring is to see how the number of increase in users clicking the buy now button and actually going on to purchase a product. Okay, now if you measure that, and after your design team has deployed, has launched an upgrade, if you measure that metrics and find out that there's an improvement, okay, you can speak to your team and say, okay, team, I think we've done a good job, because the outcome of our design decisions has led to an improvement in buy decisions from customers. Okay? So you can use that to keep the employees accountable, your staff accountable, your team members accountable. Okay, so that's one of the third reasons why you might want to use a product metrics. Last two reasons is with regards to KPIs, where you can use it to measure even the purpose, whether an organization is fulfilling its purpose, or to access the business health of the team or the organization. Now, I'll quickly run through popular product metrics that you might want to use when you are developing a new product. Okay? You can always formulate yours, but these are some of the most popular ones. So number one product metric that people usually measure is what you call user adoption. User adoption means how many people are starting to use a product. You can measure user adoption by signups. You can measure user adoption by user engagement. How long are they? For example, if it's a mobile app, you want to know how many signups are we having daily. Number two, you want to know how many aside signups. You want to know how long are people spending on the app, how much are they using a particular feature. So that's one use of product metrics. Okay, so that's one thing you might want to measure, user adoption. Another thing you might want to measure is the percentage of users who act based on your promotion. So suppose you put a promotional video on your website, on your product, on your Instagram page, okay, and you put a button there and say learn more or buy more. We want to measure when we will click that button and then go to the next step of decision, whereby they actually respond and either buy that product or sign up for that service. Another thing you want to measure, popular metrics that are usually measured in product, is customer retention or churn rate. Okay, customer retention means how many people sign up and keep using the app over a long period of time. So suppose you have 1,000 people sign up on your mobile application, but after 2 months, only 10 of them still come back. Okay, so it means that your retention rate is quite low. So these are metrics that popular businesses measure. And as a product manager, as a product owner, you might also want to measure in your product. Okay? Another metrics I would just like to go through is the average revenue per customer. So these are more business-oriented metrics. So you want to look at, okay, when you put an ad out there and people have clicked the buy now button, how much is the total spend on your product or your service? Okay? And why you might want to measure this is that from the business perspective, you might want to increase this total spend over a period of time. So you might want to find a way to convert customers and make sure that next time when they use your product, instead of just spending maybe by having a total spend of $100, you might want to increase to $200, and then you put this as a metrics and measure it. Okay? So that's it for popular product metrics. Now, let me just quickly talk about the second thing, which is very related to product metrics, but slightly different, which is key performance indicators, also called KPIs. Okay? Now, KPIs are used to demonstrate how effectively a company is achieving its key business objective. Now, what you're going to say about KPI is that KPI is more business oriented. Okay, so for the product metrics, you are more concerned with regards to the product. It's more internal. Okay, but in KPIs, you are looking at how is your product impacting the business side of things, and how is your product how much is it achieving its business objective. Okay, so KPIs are usually used not necessarily in product, sometimes in product teams, but it can be used outside product teams and in other organization teams, such as the HR, sales team, and the marketing team. So for the HR team, a KPI measure for them might be an increase in employee satisfaction. So they want to measure that over a period of time. Okay, and that's what a KPI does. Okay, for your business. So let me just give you an example of a KPI to be very practical. Okay. So for example, I'm an organization called Geeko Board. Okay? And what I sell is I sell e-learning materials. I sell e-learning materials to computer science graduates in Singapore. Okay. And I, as a business, have decided that, okay, I'm just one of the numerous players in this market. But by the end of the year, I want to become the market leader in the market in Singapore for selling e-learning products to computer science graduates. So firstly, I've defined my objective, which is the KPI. The objective is for sales of e-learning material to computer science students in Singapore, I want to become the market leader. Okay. Now, the next thing when you're defining your KPI is to say, what is my key results? Okay. What results will I have attained to be able to say, okay, I've successfully achieved this goal. Okay. So one of the key results to achieve this objective, to become market leader in Singapore in this example, might be, okay, we need to grow our Singapore team by 50%. Okay, so we are currently just 20 people in the team and want to grow to 40 people, add additional resources so that we're able to deliver better results. Okay. Another key result that might be associated with my objective is to increase my revenue, by maybe 5 million. That would help me attain market leadership. Another key result that I might mention attain is to increase market penetration. Okay, in order to attain market leadership, I want to increase my market penetration by 40%. So what I've seen here is that I have an overall business objective. And in order to achieve this overall business objective of becoming a market leader, I would have to measure 3 metrics and improve those 3 metrics. That is growing the team, growing the revenue, and growing the market penetration. So this is a very good example of how to define your KPIs or objective key results. Okay. Now, what are the components of a good KPI? Suppose you want to define this. Number one, make sure your KPI has an objective, an overall objective, and make sure the objective is numbered. I give an example here where I said, okay, suppose you have your website. The objective might be to increase the website conversion rate to 20%. Very clear objective. Number two, describe your objective in details, because your objective is going to be shared among all the stakeholders and team that's required to attain that objective. So in that case, I would say describe your objective for the sake of other team members. Another thing is that make sure you have a time to completion for your KPI. Okay, time to completion simply means that make your KPI time bound. Okay, so you want to increase the website conversion rate by 20%. Do you want to do that in 1 year, or do you want to do that in 20 years? That matters a lot in how you'd approach achieving this objective. Okay? So that's components. That's one of the key components of a good KPI. Let it be time bound. Say the time when you hope to complete it. Another thing you also find out about a good KPI is that for a good KPI, you don't have to wait to the completion period, that is 2 years or 5 years, before you know whether you are on track to attain the KPI goals. So they need to be a reporting frequency. You need to know how frequently will I be checking in to know whether I'm on track to achieve my key KPI objective. Okay? So that's the reporting frequency. The second to the last component that I want to include is number one, the data sources. Okay. So for example, you want to look at, okay, where will I be getting my data on whether I'm achieving a goal? Is it from the market? Am I going to be asking users by putting out surveys there? Or am I going to be looking at my in-house database in order to see how many number of trials, how many number of conversions? So you need to pick a data source where you're going to be getting the data they're going to use to track your KPI. And the last thing is that a good KPI should have an owner, someone responsible to make that objective achievable. Okay. Most of the time, it's usually product manager, but sometimes when it's business, it could be the marketing manager, it could be the vice president who is trying to achieve that KPI measure. Okay, so I gave a sample example of a sample repeat of the example of a good KPI here that encompasses all the components. Okay, now in bringing this session to conclusion, I want to speak about some popular tools that can be used to help you measure. So today, you don't have to go through the whole stress of probably going to talk to your customers. You probably don't have to sometimes go through the stress of fetching the data yourself. Okay, we have some tools out there that can give you an objective measure that can actually measure the metrics or the KPI, and you as a product owner might just need to observe it. One of those tools, some of those tools are what I listed here. For the product side, we have Mixpanel. Mixpanel is an analytics tool that helps to measure how users engage with your product. Okay. You have Google Analytics, which is very, very popular. So Google Analytics helps you measure how many people visit your site, how long they spend on the page, what countries they are from, the nature of the demography of those people, what are their age range. Okay. And all these insights can be used to measure your products, get the actual metrics, and then make insightful product decision. I also mentioned New Relic here. New Relic measures the performance of your application. So you are looking at downtime, you are looking at how fast it takes to respond. So those are the product side. So that tools to help you measure your product. Okay. That's on the product side. For the business side, you might want to measure your sales. So for measuring your sales, you might want to use QuickBooks. You might want to measure your profit and increase in profit over time, and probably put a measure or a KPI to achieve a business objective to increase our sales over time. You might want to use QuickBooks. You can also use Salesforce, which is an L or passing to give you insight across your business. And so these are popular tools that can even aid you today to actually measure your product successfully. In the end, I want to conclude by saying that every product manager will usually want to build products that make people happy and actually improve the lives of people. And if you want to do that, I would encourage you to find an objective measure by which you measure whether you have actually made the impact you want to make and whether you have actually made the difference you want to make. Okay, so that's the tools. So that's why I would encourage you to seek these objective measures and not just rely on people's opinion and biases everywhere. So make your product decision and to determine whether your product is successful or not. So with this, I've come to the end of this session. If you do have any questions, you can drop it in the comments section. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Johnson Lawal. You can still put your slide up. I have a question. And I'm sorry I can't turn on my camera, but then I have a question. My question is ventures or organization can't can't I apply KPI to my personal life or my growth? I don't know how to explain that, but I don't know if you're getting my points. Can't I apply KPI to my daily doings? Like, okay, I'm to achieve a particular goal or something, and I will use KPI to measure it. So that's my question.
Thank you very much. That's a very interesting question, and I like your line of thought. Okay, so the simple answer is yes, you can actually apply KPIs beyond just products. Like I said, I said you can actually apply it across your business. Now you've even suggested that. Why don't you apply it to your personal life? I think that's an interesting proposition. You can actually apply it and use it to measure your progress and attain your lifestyle goals. Yeah. I hope that answers that.
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you very much. I actually enjoyed listening to you talking about KPI. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Any final word in conclusion?
Well, My final word will be this: when you build a product, when you are trying to achieve a lifestyle goal, please define your KPIs so that you don't lose track, and also so that you don't make decisions based on biases and opinion. If you do define your KPIs and you measure and your progress intermittently, I can assure you that your goals are achievable and your goals are reachable. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Johnson Lawal.